I've always been someone who sticks to a routine. I wake up at the same time, drink the same cheap coffee, and go to the same gym every morning before work. It wasn't anything special. It was just a regular chain gym in a quiet part of town. I went there because it was convenient and close to my apartment, not because I expected to socialize or meet people. I didn't talk to anyone. I put my earbuds in, did my workout, and left. I never expected that sticking to a routine could actually put me in danger. I realize now that people who study others tend to watch for patterns. They look for gaps, weaknesses, predictable habits. And without knowing it, I made myself the perfect target for someone who was willing to take the time to learn everything about me. It started last spring. On the surface, nothing seemed strange. I walked into the gym at my usual time, around 5:15 a.m. It's the kind of quiet hour where you only see the same handful of early risers. Most of them were older adults or people on strict schedules like me. But that day, I noticed a guy I'd never seen before. He looked like he was in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, and he had a cold, flat expression that stood out even before anything happened. He wasn't looking at a machine or stretching or getting water. He was staring at me, not in a friendly or confused way, just watching. His eyes didn't move when I walked past. It was the kind of stare you notice instantly because of how direct it is. I remember thinking maybe I was imagining it. Maybe he was just zoning out. Maybe he was looking through me. People look weird early in the morning. I try not to think much of it and went on with my workout. I got on the treadmill and started running. And when I glanced up a few minutes later, he was still staring. Not subtly, not accidentally. His head was turned toward me like he didn't care who noticed. That was the first day. The second day, he was there again. Same time, same spot, and the same stare. By the third day, I felt uncomfortable enough that I started choosing machines farther away from where he was. I moved to the other side of the gym, behind some equipment, hoping he wouldn't even see me. He still found a way to position himself in a way where he could watch me. He wasn't working out. He was just sitting on a bench like he was waiting for something. The weird thing was he didn't wear gym clothes either. He wore the same black hoodie all 3 days. Most people at least dress the part, even if they're barely exercising. He didn't lift a single weight, didn't touch a machine, didn't go to the water fountain, just watched. By the end of the first week, my routine had become something I dreaded. I tried telling myself I was being paranoid. Maybe he had social anxiety. Maybe he didn't know how to start working out and was just visiting before committing. But every time I looked up, his eyes were already on me. He didn't look away when I caught him. The moment I knew something was seriously wrong was the morning I left the gym and saw him outside near the parking lot. He was leaning against a car that wasn't even parked properly. It was angled across 2 spaces. He didn't open the door. He didn't turn on the engine. He just watched me walk to my car. There were maybe 15 feet between us. I pretended to look at my phone so I didn't have to make eye contact, but I could feel it. I could feel the tension of someone studying me. I got in my car faster than I normally would and drove away. And in my rearview mirror, I saw him still standing there with that same cold, expressionless face. The next day, I didn't go to the gym. I stayed home and did a workout video, thinking I just needed a break. When I convinced myself it was probably nothing, I returned the day after. I showed up 10 minutes earlier than usual, thinking maybe that would avoid him. But when I walked in, he walked in right behind me, like he'd been waiting. This time, he didn't just stare. He moved closer. I was doing dumbbell rows, and I saw him walk toward the free weight area. He stopped a few feet from me and stood there with his hands in his hoodie pockets. He didn't blink much, didn't shift his weight, didn't pretend to stretch or adjust anything. Just stood facing me. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to make it worse. I grabbed my things and walked away. As I headed toward the locker room, I looked back and saw him follow at a distance. Not right behind me, but close enough. Inside the locker room, my heart was pounding. I pretended to check my bag, waited a minute, then left through a side exit near the showers. I didn't even bother finishing my workout. I just walked straight to my car. He was outside again. He wasn't leaning this time. He was standing near my parking space. And the second he saw me approaching, he stepped back like he wanted to give me space, but still make sure I knew he was waiting. I drove straight to work and sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to calm down. That should have been the end of it. I should have gone to the gym manager, but I doubted myself. I didn't want to sound dramatic. What was I supposed to say? A guy looks at me too much. People do weird stuff in gyms all the time, and he never said anything to me, never touched me, never approached close enough to make a scene. But then things escalated outside the gym. It was on a Tuesday evening. I was walking out of a grocery store near my apartment. I was halfway to my car when I saw someone standing between two parked vehicles on the far side of the lot. It was a familiar stance, still, hands in hoodie pockets, head slightly tilted down. I recognized him instantly, even before he fully turned his head. He was watching me again. This wasn't anywhere near the gym. This was a part of town I'd never seen him in. I felt cold all over. There was no way this was a coincidence. I didn't walk to my car. I got inside quickly and locked the doors without looking in his direction again. I drove out of the lot, and when I stopped at the light, I looked in my mirror. His figure was still visible between the cars, facing the spot where I had parked. He never attempted to leave. He just watched me leave. By then, I knew he had followed me home at least once. Maybe he had followed me more times than I realized. I stopped going to the gym completely after that. I waited a week before returning, and only because I convinced myself I didn't want to let one creepy guy scare me away from something I enjoyed. I picked a crowded hour in the late afternoon. I figured more people around would make it feel safer. When I walked in, the receptionist greeted me like normal, and for a moment I felt stupid for avoiding the place for so long. The gym felt normal again, bright lights, loud music, lots of people. But the moment I stepped past the front desk, my stomach dropped. He was there. He was standing near the weight machines this time, and he wasn't staring at me the way he usually did. He was watching the front entrance like he was waiting for someone. When his eyes landed on me, it was like everything around him stopped. His expression changed, not completely, but enough to show something like satisfaction, like he'd been waiting for me to come back. I turned around and walked straight out of the gym. I didn't run, but I moved fast. I didn't even get to my car before I heard footsteps behind me. Quick ones, closing the distance faster than I wanted to believe. I didn't look back. I got inside, locked the doors, and started the engine with shaking hands. As I pulled out, I finally looked through the window. He was standing right behind my car, not close enough to touch it, but close enough that I knew he wanted me to see him there. That night, I didn't go home. I went to a friend's place across town. I stayed awake most of the night, thinking about every little detail I had ignored. I was scared that he knew where I lived, scared that he might be waiting outside again. The next morning, I went straight to the gym and reported everything to the manager. I gave him a full description and dates and times. They pulled camera footage, and the manager's face changed as he watched it. He didn't tell me everything he saw, but he said I was right to be concerned. The man wasn't a gym member. He had never checked in. He had slipped in behind other people entering with their key fobs. Security hadn't noticed because he didn't try to use the machines, so nobody paid attention. The bigger issue was that he had been coming in long before I noticed him watching me. The manager said the camera showed him entering the gym as early as 2 months before I first saw him. Sometimes he showed up after I arrived. Sometimes he waited in the parking lot for me to leave. Sometimes he left and then came back later, like he had nothing else to do. The gym called the police. I filed a report. An officer told me they would put out a notice, but unless the man did something physical or directly threatening, there wasn't much they could charge him with. For the next month, I didn't go anywhere alone. I asked people to walk with me to my car. I varied my schedule. I tried looking around more often. The last time I saw him was outside a gas station about 3 months after I stopped going to the gym. I was pumping gas late at night, and across the street I saw someone standing under a dim streetlight. At first I didn't realize it was him, but then I recognized the posture. That same straight-backed, motionless stance. He was facing the station. He didn't move, even when cars passed. I got inside my car and drove straight home while calling a friend to stay on the line. After that night, I never saw him again. I don't know if he moved. I don't know if police found him somewhere. I don't know if he just chose someone else. All I know is he studied me in a way that changed how I move through the world. Now I pay attention to people who stare too long. I check behind me when I walk to my car. I pay attention to unfamiliar faces at familiar places. I learned that psychopaths don't always talk or threaten or act out. Sometimes they just watch. They wait. They learn. They test the boundaries until they find the one moment when nobody is paying attention. I was lucky I noticed in time, but I still wonder how long he watched me before I ever saw him. Working night shifts always felt slow and predictable to me. I'd been doing them for years at a small chain hotel off a quiet interstate in Pennsylvania. Nothing dramatic ever happened. People checked in, people checked out, and I kept the lobby clean and handled the late-night calls. It was boring most nights, but it paid my bills. I never expected the worst danger I'd ever face would come from someone who claimed to be helping me run the place. I took the job at the Fairfield in the year I turned 28. I didn't plan to stay long, but night shift jobs have a way of holding you in place. After a while, the quiet became comfortable. I liked the routine. I liked knowing I wouldn't have to deal with co-workers breathing over my shoulder. The hotel had cameras, radio headsets, and only one person working between midnight and 7 a.m. It made sense for a location that didn't get much traffic at night. The thing about night shifts is that you get used to silence. You get used to the hum of the soda machine, the clicking of the front door locking at midnight, the occasional footsteps from a guest heading to get ice. You learn what normal feels like, and that's why the changes stood out. Not big changes, just little things I couldn't explain. It started with the logbook. Each shift, we wrote down anything unusual, maintenance issues, guest complaints, late arrivals. I'd been doing this for almost a year, and I always signed the last page before leaving. One night, I opened the book and saw a signature under mine from the night before. D. Harper, night manager. I didn't know anyone named Harper, and we didn't have a night manager. The general manager handled everything for every shift. I thought maybe it was a joke from one of the day staff, but when I asked the next morning, no one had written it. No one recognized the name. The assistant manager shrugged and said maybe it was some former employee messing around. Everyone forgot about it. I didn't. The next strange thing happened a few nights later. Around 3 in the morning, the lobby phone rang. Not the front desk phone, the one in the staff room behind the counter. Only employees used that line. I picked up, assuming it was my manager. There was silence at first. Then a man cleared his throat. "Front desk?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He spoke in this calm, flat tone. "Stay at your station. I'm coming in to help with the audit." We didn't do audits at night. "Who is this?" "The night manager," he said, like I should already know. I froze for a second. My instinct was to hang up, but something about his voice made me hesitate. He didn't sound confused. He sounded like someone who believed he belonged here. "What's your name?" I asked. "You know my name," he said. "I'm almost there. Don't leave the desk." The line went dead. I stood there staring at the handset, trying to make sense of it. There were no cars pulling in, no footsteps outside. The doors remained locked. No one came in. I didn't call my actual manager because I didn't want to look paranoid. I just waited and finished my shift with an uneasy feeling. A few days later, something else happened. Around 2:30 a.m., I did my usual property walk, checking doors, hallways, stairwells. When I came back, the main office door behind the front desk was slightly open. I always closed it. It locked automatically, and I had the only key after midnight. Inside, the logbook had moved from the left side of the desk to the center, and sitting right on top of it was a card. White, blank except for 3 typed words. I see everything. No name, no handwriting, nothing. I checked the cameras. No one had been behind the desk except me. That's when the fear really started creeping in. Something was happening around me, and I couldn't prove it. I couldn't point to a stranger on camera, couldn't show a shadow or a door opening. Everything I found seemed to happen when I wasn't looking. 2 nights after the card showed up, I saw him. It was around 4:15 a.m. I was behind the front desk finishing some paperwork, and I noticed movement outside through the glass doors. A man was standing under the canopy. He wasn't trying to come inside. He wasn't checking in. He wasn't smoking or pacing. He was standing completely still. He wore a dark jacket and slacks, clothes you might expect someone in hotel management to wear. His hands were in his pockets, and he was angled slightly toward the front desk, watching me through the glass. I froze. He didn't knock, didn't gesture, didn't speak. I picked up the phone to call my manager, but my hand was shaking. I looked down for just a second to dial. When I looked back up, the man was gone. Not walking away, not opening a car door. Gone. The parking lot was empty. The sidewalk was clear. The road had no cars. I reviewed the cameras again. I watched myself at the desk, the shadow of movement outside, and then nothing. The camera didn't even show him walking off screen. He appeared for about 3 frames, and then he wasn't there anymore. I saved the clip and emailed it to my manager. She called me immediately. "Who was that?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "He called himself the night manager." She said she was driving in and told me to lock the office door. I stayed inside the small back room until sunrise, checking the monitors every few seconds. Nobody came back. When my manager arrived, she checked every room in the building. No one matching the man's appearance was staying with us. No one checked in late. No one checked out early. She made a formal report to corporate security. They changed the door codes and told me to call the police if anything else happened. For a week, nothing did. But I didn't relax. The silence felt wrong. Forced, like someone waiting. One night in early December, everything caught up with me. I had gone into the laundry room to move a load of towels when I heard the front bell, something I rarely heard after midnight. I walked out expecting to see a guest. Instead, a man stood at the counter with his back to me, facing the wall of brochures. He had broad shoulders and short dark hair. I recognized the posture instantly. My chest tightened. It was him. He didn't turn around when he spoke. "You weren't supposed to tell anyone." I froze mid-step. He slowly placed something on the counter. A key card, but not one of ours. It was a plain white key card with no logo, the same type used by staff long before my time there. He tapped it once with his finger. I locked up earlier, like I always do. I didn't understand what he meant. I kept my distance. He turned his head just enough for me to see part of his profile. Sharp jaw, pale skin, no emotion in his eyes. You made this job difficult. I backed up slowly. My heart was pounding hard enough that I could hear it. He stepped aside and pointed toward the office door behind the desk. "It's open," he said. "Go look." I didn't move. He tilted his head like he was studying me. "I've kept this place safe for years," he said. "Long before you." His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't raised. It sounded like someone reciting a fact. "People forget what I do," he continued. "People forget I'm still here." My throat was dry. "You don't work here." He smiled, not big, just a slight twitch of mouth. "That's what they said last time." I reached behind me for my phone, but he saw my hand move and took one step forward. I panicked and darted toward the back hallway, locking myself in the employee break room. I called 911 while holding the door with my body weight. The dispatcher told me officers were on the way. I heard a voice through the door. "You can't erase me," he said, calm and steady. "I'm part of this building." I didn't answer. I didn't make a sound. I just held the door. When police arrived, they searched every floor twice. Every hallway, every exit, every storage area. They didn't find him. They reviewed cameras, every angle, every timestamp. No footage of him entering. No footage of him leaving. No footage of him approaching the counter. The only thing that appeared on video was the white key card he left behind. No fingerprints. Nothing to trace. Corporate removed me from night shifts permanently. They changed every lock. They replaced the camera system. My manager asked if I wanted time off. Instead, I quit the job. I never worked another night shift again. I didn't keep the key card, but sometimes I think about it. About the typed note he left. About the signature in the logbook. About how comfortable he seemed inside a place he wasn't supposed to be. I still don't understand what his connection to the hotel was. I don't know if he used to work there. I don't know if he lived nearby. I don't know if he followed certain staff members. I don't know if he moved on to another place. The worst part is the feeling that he didn't see himself as a stranger or an intruder. He saw himself as part of the job, and in his mind, I was the one who didn't belong. It started with small things that didn't make sense at first. I order a lot of stuff online. It's easier for my schedule, and most of the time, deliveries arrive without issue. But there was something off about this one delivery driver. At first, I didn't notice it. The first package arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Nothing unusual, just a box with some household supplies. But when I opened it, the contents weren't exactly what I ordered. I shrugged it off, thinking it was a simple mistake. The next day, another package came. Again, the wrong items. And the way it was left on my porch felt deliberate. Slightly angled toward the window, facing the living room. My first thought was coincidence, but by the third package, I realized someone was paying attention to where I lived, when I was home, even how I moved inside. I called the delivery company to complain, and they assured me it was a mistake, that drivers rotated routes and errors happen. I believed them for a little while. Then it got personal. I noticed small things around the house that weren't there before. The kitchen counter moved slightly. My car keys weren't where I had left them. My mail was opened, just enough for someone to look at it. Nothing was taken, nothing obviously harmed, but someone had been inside. One evening, I stayed home and pretended to be gone, watching through the blinds. Sure enough, a van pulled up quietly in front of the house. The driver got out, walked up to the porch, and left a package. He lingered longer than necessary, looked toward the windows, then got back into the van and drove away. I snapped a photo of the license plate with my phone. I took it to the company. They ran the plate and confirmed the van was registered to one of their delivery drivers, a man named Alan. I asked them to investigate. They said they would, but the incidents didn't stop. The packages became almost daily, left in unusual positions, sometimes empty boxes, sometimes items that seemed completely random. It was clear he was watching me, tracking when I left the house, when I returned, what I did in between. I tried to get restraining orders, but it was tricky. Technically, he wasn't trespassing. He had legitimate access to my property when delivering packages. The harassment was subtle, insidious, and legal loopholes protected him. I started documenting everything, timestamped photos, video from security cameras, logs of each delivery, each wrong package. It felt obsessive, but necessary. One night, I caught him in the act. I was in the kitchen when I saw a shadow outside the window. I ran to the porch door just as he was leaving a package. I stepped out and confronted him. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He smiled, the same calm, collected smile I had seen so many times before. "Just making sure everything's where it should be," he said. There was no apology, no remorse, just that unnerving sense that he was controlling something about my life. I changed my delivery preferences to require signatures and started using different addresses when possible. He adapted. He would watch from a distance, timing my movements, leaving packages at neighbors' houses if he couldn't leave them at mine. I felt like I could never escape. It went on for months. Every time I thought I was safe, another package would arrive. Another moment when I realized he was aware of everything I did. My sleep suffered. I couldn't relax at home. I started avoiding ordering online entirely, which disrupted my routine. Eventually, I moved. I didn't tell anyone about the driver, didn't leave a note, didn't report him again. The city was bigger, the streets busier, and he couldn't track me anymore. But the fear didn't leave. Anytime a package arrives now, I hesitate. I check the window. I look for someone lingering nearby. Even today, I know he's out there somewhere, doing the same thing to someone else, watching, testing boundaries, manipulating life from behind the wheel of a delivery van. And that thought is worse than anything he could have actually done to me directly.